Well, the report came out earlier this week that mothers are now the primary source of income in 40% of U.S. households. Some of them single moms, some of them married moms, but moms, women. And this produced a general freakout over at Fox So-Called News. Lou Dobbs saying this was the dissolution of American society. Juan Williams agreed, according to Eric Dolan over at rawstory.com, describing it as a sign of the disintegration of marriage that would have negative consequences for generations to come. And Eric Erickson went even farther. He said, I'm so used to liberals telling conservatives that they're anti-science, but liberals who defend this and say it's not a bad thing are very anti-science. When you look at biology, when you look at the natural world, the role of a male and female in society and other animals, the male typically is the dominant role. I'm guessing that Eric Erickson has never heard of wolf packs or lion dens or, well, in any case. Or maybe he has never been married for years and years. Bryan Fischer on the line with us. He is the host of Focal Point radio show on AFR Talk, director of issues and analysis for government and public policy for the American Family Association, AFA.net. And Bryan, you made some remarks about this a couple days ago that have been migrating across the internet. You want to tell us what you had to say?
Well, it's interesting, Tom, that Salon.com picked up on the things that I had said, that God has designed men to be breadwinners, providers, protectors for their families. And Salon tried to paint me as a Neanderthal Cro-Magnon, but then they wound up saying, I think you might be right.
And women to be subservient to their husbands?
Well, women, I think, desire men who are strong, who will protect them, who will lead them, and provide for them. I think that is the hunger of virtually the heart of every woman. If a woman doesn't want that...
How would you know that, Bryan? You're a man.
If a woman doesn't want that, nobody's going to make her look for it.
You may be looking at some small slice of culture or too much porn or something. I mean, this seems like this is the stereotype of women that leads to this rape culture in our society. That women are these weak victims. They're objects. I don't know where to begin with this. I mean, it seems somewhere between misinformed and misogynistic. What about women being equal with men? Different. I mean, we have to acknowledge the differences. You and I can't have babies. We have lower pain thresholds than women do. We will live a shorter lifetime than women do. I don't see how out of that you can say that we are the stronger of the sexes.
Equal in worth, but different in role.
Okay. Yes, you and I can't have a baby. A woman can. But does that mean that women should stay out of the workplace?
No. Who's saying that?
Well, if you're saying that men should be the breadwinners and women just want to be taken care of and protected, that's a pretty implicit therefore out of that, is it not?
Well, Tom, you're the one that's talking about forcing people to do things. I'm talking about preserving the right to choose. If a woman would like to have a man be the provider and be able to devote her full energies to her home, that's what I want. Don't you?
And if a man wants the woman to be the provider and he wants to be a stay-at-home dad, which I spent a year at home raising our kids. My wife was off running a business that we had started, a travel agency, and doing a very good job of it. I thought I was a pretty good stay-at-home dad. I mean, it's like that's a reasonable role for men, is it not?
Well, absolutely. But the reality is that men were
I was defying nature.
To be fighters and protectors, and women were designed by God to bear life and to nurture life. That's just a biological fact.
And God told you this.
Whether you believe in creation or evolution, that's just a simple fact of biological lifetime. You've acknowledged it yourself. We can't have kids. We can't feed kids. We can't nurse kids.
Yeah, and therefore, I would submit to you, and I realize that this is two men talking about women, which in and of itself is rather bizarre, but I would suggest to you that given that the vast majority of people in our prisons are men, that the vast majority of people who start and kill in wars are men, that the vast majority of people who commit crimes ranging from rape to murder are men, that the vast majority of people who commit crimes on Wall Street and destroy economies and destroy people's lives are men, that the vast majority of our banksters are men, that, and the vast majority of our lawmakers are men, that if we were to say, men are really screwing this thing up badly, Norway, for example, mandates that 40% of the legislature be women, and Norway has the second highest standard of living in the world, the second highest quality of life behind Denmark, where women are relatively equal with men in representation in many of these areas. Isn't it time to say, okay, you can have your ideas from your Bronze Age god about who was a guy with a penis apparently. And maybe that was fine for 3,000 years ago, but men have been running this show for 7,000 years since Ur and Uruk and Gilgamesh and Sumeria, and we've screwed it up pretty badly. We've got all these nuclear weapons, we've got all this pollution, we've got all this poverty. Let's turn this thing over to the women for a while.
No, we don't need more role reversal, Tom. We need more Christianity.
More male-dominated religions.
Christianity teaches husbands, Tom, to be willing to lay down their lives for their wives.
Christianity also teaches, Paul said that women should shut up and sit in the back of the church.
Of the example of Christ.
And Christianity teaches women to shut up and be silent.
No.
Of course it does. Paul in his letter to the Romans, he says, or was it Romans or Thessalonians, wherever it was. Anyway, he said the role of a woman in church is to cover her head and remain silent. You know that.
Right. What the scriptures also teach is it teaches men to lead sacrificially. Most women aren't going to have trouble following a man who provides for her and is willing to lay down his life for her. In fact, I think most women hunger for that, and that's what Christianity teaches. Well,
again, you're imagining what women are hungering for. Being a woman, it's hard for me to say, but some of the women that I know actually would like men to treat them like equals and stop treating them like objects and stop treating them like subordinates.
Absolutely, and Christianity teaches them to treat wives with honor as fellow.
No, I'm not talking about honor like, oh, gee, you poor thing. I'm talking about you are my equal.
Absolutely. Equal in value and worth, different in role.
Yeah, and that role is a subordinate role.
That role is to nurture life.
You're the explicit in the teachings that you're promoting is that the husband is the head of the household and the woman is subordinate to him.
Well, that's what the owner's manual says, Tom.
The owner's manual from a Bronze Age religion 3,000 years ago, yes. And if you want to go back to running around with spears wearing togas, and go back to that lifestyle where a man could have 700 wives and divorce his wife by throwing her shoes outside the door, then go ahead. But I think we've come a long way since then. And one of the things that I think that we've learned is that there's been a lot of damage as a consequence of that religion and those perspectives.
No, there's not too much of that religion. It's not enough. We need more Christianity.
So we need more patriarchy and more hierarchy.
Well, Tom, you're the one that's the outlier here because according to the Pew Research, 51% of the people they surveyed said children do better if a mother is at home. Only 8% thought they did better if the man was at home. Your problem, Tom, is not with me. Your problem is with the entire sample.
Well, if you're basing everything on polls, what did the polls say about the role of slavery in 1770?
Tom, how did we get to slavery in 1770?
Well, I'm saying, just because the majority of the people say this is how it should be doesn't mean that that's how it should be. Anyhow, Brian, we're out of time. Bryan Fischer, you can read all about it over at afa.org, right?
afa.net.
.net, thank you. afa.net, the American Family Association, and host of Focal Point Radio Show, AFR.talk, or AFR Talk. Thank you, Brian.
All right, Tom.
Good talking to you. We'll be back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So is there too much testosterone in the world? Is it time to dial it down a little? Seems that way.